Good evening and a very warm welcome from Team Training and Education. Today we are conducting 53rd webinar in Gyan Ganga series, and today's our topic is Engineering Insurance Endorsement Part 2, and our faculty is Mr. Milind Harsulkar. I request Mr. Milind Harsulkar sir to start today's session.
Good evening, friends. Today it is Engineering Insurance Endorsements Part 2. In the Part 1, we have seen in general about endorsements and common endorsement to engineering insurance. Today, we will be discussing the endorsements which are for operational policies. So, to have a quick review, these are the operational policies in engineering department. So, first 4 policies only we will be discussing. Other policies we are not discussing today because time constraint. So for first 4 policies which are more common, so most of the surveyors may have handled claims on these first 4 policies. So first 4 policies endorsements will be discussing. That is machinery insurance, boiler and pressure plant, electronic equipment, contractors plant and machinery. 4 policies only. The endorsement to these policies can be because of the add-on cover opted. So whenever any add-on cover is opted, the policy has to be modified. So endorsement for add-on cover is that particular add-on cover is attached to the policy. Specific to rate code. Certain rate codes they specify by giving the rate, they specify that this particular endorsement has to be attached to the policy. So DG set is there is loss minimization endorsement. If gearbox is there are 2 endorsements for gearbox. So those endorsements should come to the policy. And any additional specific to that risk put by the insurer. Certain sometimes the insurers have bad claim experience, so they put some additional condition. They will attach some endorsement for that. So this is a non-tariff. First 2 will be tariff endorsement, add-on cover and specific to the rate code. These 2 are tariff endorsement. This will be non-tariff endorsement. Then policy-wise TSA endorsements for those things add-on covers or specific rate code, and non-TSA endorsement. There is a provision in the tariff. Certain thing is provided in the tariff, but TSA has not given the endorsement wording. So this is non-TSA endorsement based on the provision in the tariff. The insurance company will attach that endorsement. For these endorsements, there can be some difference in the wording from insurance company to company. This non-tariff TSA endorsements, I have given one wording. This may not be the standard wording across all insurers. Each insurance company may be having their own wordings for this non-TSA endorsements, but as per the tariff provision. If you analyze the all operational policies engineering endorsements, they will be clubbed, can be clubbed into these categories. Depreciation. Most of the endorsements are for depreciation on certain parts or maybe machine. And if you go through the endorsements, most of the endorsement restrict maximum depreciation to 75%. There are few exceptions, but most of the endorsement restrict the depreciation to 75%. This is the figure arrived traditionally. The reason is the residual value of the machine or equipment parts. So they consider that when it was damaged, it had some value. So that is what they say 25% is the value. Thumb rule, they have fixed this thing. It is traditionally going on 75% maximum. But for some parts or some machine, it is more. That in the endorsement you will see it. Then some other endorsements, they are for exclusion of some parts of that machine. If particular machine is covered, then some parts are excluded. So that is specifically mentioned. Those parts, even if damaged accidentally, that cost is not admissible in the policy. Then inclusion of some excluded parts. There are some excluded parts as per the exclusions, but then those are included by way of this endorsement. The example is valves, tubes, and all these things. If you say valves, tubes, exclusion is there in the electronic equipment policy also, machinery breakdown also. But if you go to the endorsement, valves and tubes with depreciation, those are covered. So that is the excluded part covered in the policy by way of this endorsement. And deletion of some exclusion part of the condition or warranty. So, like in CPM policy, there is an exclusion for machinery working underground. But those machinery can be covered by payment of additional premium. So, if you are covering those machinery working underground, there is additional premium is charged. That is one part. Premium that is for insurer. As a surveyor, if insurance company has charged the premium and not deleted that exclusion, then I may say that this is not covered because this is exclusion. So insurers has to specifically endorse the policy saying that that particular exclusion is deleted for this item, whatever machine is going to be working underground. And some endorsement for loss minimization are there, like overhauling thing or maybe air conditioning plant for electronic equipment and all those things. So they are basically for loss minimization. If you go through these all endorsement, you can classify it into this type of things. In 4 or 5 categories, most of the endorsement will come into one of these things. This is the list of endorsement for machinery insurance policy. Carding machines in textile industry. So if a carding machine is covered for under machinery breakdown, this endorsement has to be attached. Induction furnace and electrical furnace. There are 2 different endorsements for if induction furnace is covered, then that endorsement is there. Electrical furnace other than induction furnace, that this endorsement. Then DG set endorsement for loss minimization. Now this endorsement, there is a practical issues involved in this. I will discuss that at the time of discussing this endorsement. Then reduction gearbox, patterns and core boxes. This is whenever you are covering any casting, then that casting many machines that castings are covered. So this endorsement should be attached in machinery breakdown policy. Then expellers and expeller gears, plastic extruders, injection molding machines. If you are covering any of these machines, then this particular endorsement has to be attached. And alternate working. In the industry, you will find that there are certain machines, only one is working at a time. Either this A machine is working or B machine is working. Both are not working at a time. So that is alternate working. There is some premium reduction. If that is the case, then insurance company should mention in the schedule that this machine is alternate to X machine is alternate to Y machine. So only one will be working. So that endorsement need to be attached. And standby machinery. In case of any problem, this standby is little different than alternate. Standby machine will work when this main machine is having some issues. Whereas alternate machine, either one of them will be working. When one is under maintenance, second will work. Second is under maintenance, first will work. Or maybe as per their schedule. Some shift, one machine will work. Whereas standby, there is a breakdown in one machine, the standby machine will be put into that. So standby machinery, again, there is a premium advantage, the insured. So this endorsement has to be attached. And in the policy schedule, they should mention that particular machine is a standby machine to which machine. Serial number 10 is standby to serial number 9, like that. Then bakeries. If bakeries machinery breakdown policy is there, then this endorsement. Gas work plants, glass and graphite equipment, glass line vessel. Now glass, graphite, glass line, all this is non-metallic. It is excluded in the standard machinery breakdown policy. We are covering those equipment under machinery breakdown with this endorsement. Then insurance of ropes in lifts, cranes, and ropeways. If you are covering lifts, cranes, and ropeways, then for the ropes, this endorsement is applicable. So this endorsement should be attached to the policy. And windmills. There are these 2 endorsements for the windmills. One is general endorsement, and second is says that sum insured. What should be the sum insured for the windmill? And here the TSC has at the rate code they have said that sum insured should be like this, but they are not given the endorsement wording. So here I have given one endorsement wording for one company. That wording for this may be different for other companies. And refractory materials in boilers. Boilers, mostly they cover under boiler exclusion policy, but sometimes they cover under machinery breakdown also. So in that case, this refractory materials, which are basically non-metallic and excluded, but here we are covering this refractory material by attaching this endorsement. Then depreciation adjustment for components along the hot gas path of a gas turbine. Again, this is for the gas turbine. If it is covered, either gas turbine or combined cycle power plant, then this endorsement need to be attached. And overall of pattern presses. Overall of electric motors above 750 kW for motors with 8 poles, actually that is remain 8 poles or 1000 megawatt kilowatt for 4 poles and more. Endorsements for radio frequency drive. Coverage of electronic components machine. It's a non-tariff endorsement. Tariff is providing that after these electronics used in industry, a lot of machineries there are electronic components are used, and then there is a dispute whether this machine should be covered under electronic equipment policy or a machinery breakdown policy. You don't get the bifurcation of value of electronic portion of the machine or other electronic portion. So the choice is given to the insured to decide whether it can be covered under machinery breakdown or electronic equipment. So if insured decide to take machinery breakdown policy, then what happens? Most of the electronic components, or maybe all, they are non-metallic and they will be excluded straight away from the insurance. Now, when you are covering the machine and electronic components also are there, it can be covered under electronic policy. So if you are covering under machinery breakdown policy, any machine which is having electronic components, then this endorsement need to be attached saying that for this electronic machine, the endorsements related to non-metallic parts and other things, those things is not applicable. This endorsement need to be there in the policy. Otherwise, as a surveyor, if this endorsement is not there, I will go by standard policy wording and say that these parts are coming under exclusion and I may not recommend a claim. So it is necessary that insurance company attach this such type of endorsement when they are covering under machinery breakdown any machine which has a lot of electronics involved. And nitrogen plant, there is an endorsement. Roller press, there is a depreciation. Tariff is saying that for roller press there should be depreciation at this scale, but then the endorsement wording TSA is not given. And overhauling of turbine turbo generator sets, there is a policy condition that every 32,000 hours, the turbines and turbo generator set need to be overhauled. Now, some number of times, the insured is not able to plan the overhauling after completion of 32,000 hours. Then he approaches insurance company that you please extend this time to from 32,000 to say 40,000, 36,000, whatever. Then in that case, the policy needs that policy conditions which say that the turbines to be overhauled after 32,000 hours need to be modified. So that modification should be there in the policy. If the turbine at the time of loss, say turbine has worked 30,000 hours, and there is no endorsement attached, that time is extended by the insurance company. As a surveyor, I will say this is exceeded 32,000. Now you decide on liability. But that endorsement is there, I will say this was extended up to 40,000 hours. Loss is at 36,000 hours, and it may be otherwise payable. I will recommend it. So there is a need to attach this endorsement. This is one wording which I have given. If other insurance companies they want to attach, they may have some different wording. And coverage of gearbox. There is a provision in the tariff which says that gearbox can be covered when either drive machine or driven machine. One of the thing has to be insured. Then only you can include gearbox in the policy schedule. But they have not given the endorsement. So this one insurance company's wording I have given here. Now this is a carding machine. If you see that these are the parts, these are excluded. So this endorsement clearly says that these parts, whether it is accidental or anyway, it is excluded. So when there is a loss to carding machine, then this thing will be excluded. Now this induction furnace, refractory lining due to any cause is specifically excluded. So induction furnace is covered. There is a loss to induction refractory lining. Then Insured may claim, but this is excluded. Now this is for electrical furnace. So here the damage to crucibles and refractory due to any cause is excluded. So here crucible also is excluded because crucible is a non-metallic. Then there is a depreciation again. Induction coils and heating elements of electric furnace will be subject to 25% depreciation per year or part thereof, subject to maximum 75%. So here this is endorsement, depreciation is restricted to maximum 75%. And warranted that the refractory linings are examined each time the furnace is recharged. So every recharge, insured has to, before recharging, insured has to examine the refractory linings for any defects. And if it is there, he has to correct those defects. So then replace periodically in accordance with the maker's recommendation. These are the two provisions in this endorsement for loss minimization. So there are three issues in the induction furnace. One is that crucible and refractory lining is excluded. Second is depreciation. This is third is manufacturer recommendation and examining every recharge before every recharge the refractory linings. So in case of loss, we have to ask for these records. Then DG set endorsement. Now DG set endorsement, if you go to tariff, which was uploaded in 2001, the whatever is written in the red font is not appearing. But if you go to the original wording of the TSC, which was given by TSC, these lines will be there. Most probably, in my opinion, this happened because of this subject to and this subject to. The person who typed this endorsement, he just made the error and he typed after this subject to this thing. Now, if you say this depreciation is for turbocharger 15%, whereas for piston rings and all these things, it is 25% per year, maximum 75%. Now, if you don't, if these wordings are not there, then you don't have any scale for cylinder head, liner, piston. Then what depreciation you will apply? You can't apply 15% because 15% depreciation per annum be made applicable to turbochargers only. So here, although it is saying depreciation is to be there for these parts, there is nothing scale is mentioned. So there can be disputes. But this is the correct wording which was there for TSC. I do not know how many insurance companies are following this standard wording, old wording, or whatever is there in the tariff, which is excluding this thing. Secondly, is the additional excess for crankshaft. So this is also not there in the TSC wording, present 2001 wording. They are only having this third point is turbocharger cannot be insured in isolation. Subject, so turbocharger cannot be insured in isolation. So for large engine, turbocharger cost is also very high. So sometimes the insured may say that turbocharger you insure separately. So that is not allowed in the tariff. So here they are putting this in the endorsement. So this depreciation on piston ring is one issue and additional excess for crankshaft. Most of the time crankshaft is broken and other damages are there. So if this is not there, then you may not be able to apply this 20% excess on the cost of replacement of crankshaft. This is beside the normal excess, 1% of some insured. This is normal. But crankshaft cost, this is a 20% excess, additional excess only on crankshaft cost. But if it is not there, you will say that this is not there in the endorsement, so will not apply this excess. And reduction gearbox. So here again 15% in depreciation, maximum 75%. So any must have list, if it is reduction gearbox is there, this endorsement should be there in the policy, depreciation endorsement. And patterns and core boxes. So here for old castings and all these things, the manufacturer may not preserve those patterns and core boxes. So when there is a damage to some casting, the repairer will include the cost making of new core boxes and patterns. So that cost is excluded and not admissible into the insurance policy. Only the cost of making the part from the core boxes is payable. The patterns and core boxes cost is very high. So that is why that is not part of the this thing. So only cost of making the part will be admissible under the policy. And expellers and expeller gears. So this is in oil expellers, oil industries. So expeller, these parts are not payable. Ball bearings, roller bearings, truss bearings, and bush bearings of all types are specifically excluded from the scope of cover. Normally, what we do, bearings and all that, if it is damaged in the accident, we apply depreciation and we pay the cost of bearing. But here, specifically mentioned that this is not to be paid. Expeller gears, this is the depreciation, 15% for years. So same thing that expeller gear endorsement, same thing. Then plastic extruders and injection molding machines. So here the cost of dies, molds and heating elements, they are loss damage to dies, molds, heating elements used in plastic extruder injection molding machines. So that is not covered. Even though the machine cost is including this, damage to this is not there. These parts are excluded from the cover. So anything happens to this, even in accident, they are not payable. This alternate working. You see this wording. These machines ensure that except when the load is being transferred from one machine to another, insured under this policy shall only work alternatively. So it will not work at a time, only it will work. One will work, one will not be working. The plant may be turned over periodically for maintenance purpose only. If the plant is to be used otherwise than above, the insured shall forthwith notify the insurer. If they want to use both the machines, they have to inform the insurance company and pay additional premium as may be required. So that is there is additional premium. That is why the condition is put. Then standby machine. So standby, as I told you, this is only one machine will be working at a time. So there is that machine is damaged, then only they will replace it by the other machine. So standby, this is very most common in electric motors. They have same capacity motors stored in their source. One motor there is a problem that is damaged, then they will replace it by the other motor. But otherwise they will not change it, make it alternate working. They will replace it only when this is damaged and it is gone for repairs. So if there is they want to use both the machines, then they have to inform the insurance company. Same provision, because there is a discount in premium for the standby, working as a standby. Then bakeries. If bakeries is covered, damage to whisk, dough hook, and beaters of dough mixers. So dough mixers, these three parts are specifically excluded. Whisk, dough hooks, and beaters. Even if they are damaged in accident, they are not payable. Then gas work plants. Whenever gas work plants are covered, the underground piping is excluded. Its damage to underground piping is specifically excluded from the policy. Glass and graphite equipments. So these are the non-metallic. Glass and graphite is not a metallic part. But if the entire equipment is either of glass or graphite, then it is specifically covered. And what we cover is accidental damage or external impact causing the damage to the glass graphite, and not any loss or damage arising out of wear, tear, general usage, and or cracking of the insured item due to continuous working and or fatigue. So normal usage losses are specifically, although standard exclusion is there, again it is repeated here. Only accidental damage or external impact. internal accidental damage because of internal working pressure or anything, or external impact, something hits on it. So these are the two things only which is covered. Glass line vessels. Again, here also same thing. So restricted cover losses due to accidental damage or external impact. Same coverage. Wear and tear and general usage and all these things, although it is mentioned in the standard exclusion, again repeated here. And here the depreciation is there. For glass items, depreciation is not there. Glass line vessel, there is a depreciation scale. Again, maximum depreciation restricted to 75%. Then insurance of ropes in lifts, cranes, and ropeways. Now, these ropes and all this thing, if you see, it is the excluded part. Standard exclusion under master breakdown policy. However, these are covered by this endorsement. So, if this endorsement is not attached to the policy, ropes is a standard excluded, one of the standard excluded part. So, what we are giving sudden and unforeseen damage to the rope, resulting in their actual and complete severance. It should not include breakage or abrasion of wire or strand or rope slings. So there is a sudden unforeseen event, but it is not completely severed. There is only breakage of few wires or abrasion of or strand of rope slings. Then that is not covered. It has to be completely severed. Two pieces cut into two pieces. Then only this that is also because of sudden and unforeseen accident. So this is the only coverage we are giving in ropes. Then again, there is a depreciation, 15% per annum, maximum 75%. Then windmills. Now windmills, this is standard endorsement, blades of the windmills. Accidental damage to blades of windmill, whether metallic or non-metallic. So metallic, you don't have issue, but if it is a non-metallic, then it is a standard excluded part. But here, this endorsement is saying that it is covered, non-metallic. Metallic, you may not have issues because it is a master breakdown policy, but non-metallic blades, most of the windmills have non-metallic windmills. Means internal frame may be of fabricated MS, but outside is a plastic. But here we are covering those plastic things also. And sum insured. This is the description, whatever is in the red font. It is given in the tariff after the rate. And TSC did not give the endorsement wording. So this is one insurance company they are attaching like this. So single valuation for windmill is required to be insured. The sum to be insured should include the value of tower, wind turbine, generator, controller, yaw motor, capacitor, lightning arrestor, windmill blades, and power cables. So this combined one single value has to be given. Normal machinery breakdown policy, if you go, you may give separate values for this. Generator, wind turbine, tower, yaw motor, capacitor bank, lightning arrestor, maybe separate value, power cable. But here, only one single value has to be insured for all these items. What are the other parts, the machines which can be separately insured is transformer and related electrical switch gears in substation and yard can be insured as a separate item. But all these other things, they are in the wind tower, all these parts. So it has to be insured as a single one item. In one of the claim which I surveyed, they had given separate values for all these things. Besides that, they had shown one item as a cost of erection. So there were issues in that claim. So since I knew this endorsement, I told them that this sum insured should be like this. And what happened in windmills, taking down the windmill and again putting it on the tower, that cost is much higher than the parts to be replaced. In that case, the part to be replaced were a few thousand, maybe 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh. But the cost of taking down the wind generator and putting it again, that was around 12 lakhs. Now, since they had put shown separate sum insured for erection, that erection cost, whatever was shown, was the maximum liability. So they were hardly getting any claim. So maybe they have withdrawn, or I don't know, but this problem will be there if separate sum insured are given. And refractory materials in boiler. So refractory, again, standard exclusion, but here they can be covered subject to depreciation. 20% per year, maximum 80%. Now here you see they have made it 80%, not 75%. This is one example where it is more than 75% depreciation is deducted. Then depreciation adjustment for components along the hot gas path of a gas turbine. So components components in the hot gas path which have a life expectancy appreciably shorter than that of gas turbine. The amount indemnifiable in respect of item thus affected shall be depreciated. So here the formula is given: expired life, so how much time it was used; normal expected life, so 1 minus EL by NLE. So this is the formula, this standard formula. Why they have given this thing, I don't know, but they have given this formula. So with this formula, you have to apply the depreciation. And here again, this is a qualified thing which most of the time the insured may be taking advantage of this. Should the normal life expectancy for any component or components indicated by the manufacturer be found to be in conflict with the operational and or claims experience, an agreement on more realistic component life expectancies shall be reached between the insured and the insurer. So here, most of the time insured may be taking advantage, and lower depreciation may be deducted. And this is Platon Place. So here overhauling condition is put. Insured shall arrange at his own expense an overhaul of all highly stressed parts of the Platon press, as well as an inspection by an expert in non-destructive testing. So NDT test also will be required, overall will be required, and shall supply the insurer with reports on this overall and inspection. So if any claim is there, you can ask for such reports, earlier overall reports and NDT reports. Then the expert shall determine the date of next overall. So one overall is there. So when the next overall should be there, but here 1 in 12 months is again mentioned. So if that expert may say that do inspection overall again after 6 months or 8 months, that they will have to follow that. At maximum 12 months, that is one overall inspection in 12 months. This provision shall apply regardless of commencement date of the insurance cover. So insurance, when it is taken, irrelevant. So last overall and next overall within 12 months. The insured may apply for extension of the period. So again, like turbine turbo generator thing, extension is possible, but then in insurance company should give in writing that this overhauling period is extended. Otherwise, we'll go by the standard in 12 months period. Then, if the insured fails to comply with the requirement of this endorsement, the insurer shall be free of all liability. So, but condition is that overall is not done and the loss is because of that reason. For that situation only, the insurer can say that we don't have liability. So this is important. If there is a loss, the reason, whatever is the reason, if that would have been detected during, had the overall been taken, then insurance company will say that yes, we are not liable, take the advantage of this condition. And overall of electric motors, with 2 poles and above and 750, then this is 4 poles. So attached to and forming part, this is okay, standard thing. The insured shall arrange at his own expense an overhaul. The insured shall inform the insurer of such an overhaul in good time so that the insurance representative may be present during the overall. Although this is there, no insurance company representative goes if the insured informs. So it is completely opened up state after 8,000 hours of working. This is the first condition, 8,000 hours or 500 startups, or at least after 2 years following the last overall. So these three conditions are there. If you say this 8,000 hours, it comes to about 2 shifts per day or 2 years, in 2 years. If it is working three shifts, that industry, maybe it will be less than 2 years. And 500 startups depends on how frequently is stopping that machine and starting it. So whichever is earlier, maybe insurance company will say that you should have done the overall after this thing. But if this endorsement is not attached, then you can't put this condition. The insurance company has to attach the endorsement, this endorsement. In one case, it was not attached. I asked insure about this thing. They said they never, we are insuring, having this policy for last so many years. Nobody has informed us about this condition. And even earlier surveys for other motor damages, they have not informed. I said, this is the endorsement. It is not there to your policy, it is okay, but this is what you have to keep this record. They had a record, so I took the details. So they were complying this warranty. This condition was not breached, so there was no issue. But otherwise, there could have been some issues. And for a new electric motors, it is 2,000 hours. So first overall has to be 2,000 hours or 1 year of operation. The insured shall supply the insurer with reports. Again, same condition like pattern trace. Extension of period can be granted by insurance company. Then same condition, free from all liabilities for loss or damage if no overall is there and that has caused the loss. Same condition. Then radio frequency dryer. Now here, these components, valve oscillators and or triad tube oscillator. Now these valves and tubes, standard exclusion under machinery breakdown policy. But here we are giving cover for that by applying a depreciation endorsement. So depreciation, the actual value of the valve oscillator, triad tube oscillator shall be as under. The scale is also given. Here it goes to 0. So it is age in months. Up to 18 months, insured will get 100% of the cost of this value. But after 18 months, it goes on reducing, and above 60 months, it's a 0. So even if it is damaged, they will not get any cost of this radio frequency dryer oscillator. It's two parts. Wall oscillators and or triad tube oscillators. For this, they will not get anything if it is more than 60 months old. Then electronic components of a machine. As I told you earlier, there is electronic component, most of them are non-metallic. So those, if they are covered under the policy, and the relevant exclusion of non-metallic parts is not applicable to these components if otherwise admissible. Otherwise, the claim should be admissible. Then that exclusion will not be applicable. One insurer company, I don't know whether other all insurers are attaching these endorsements or not. Then roller press. If roller press is covered, then there is a depreciation endorsement. 20%, maximum 80%. Again, here the depreciation is more than 75%. Then extension of time limit of overall of turbine, turbo generator. So this condition, whatever is there in the policy, with reference to that, the time limit specified in the provision 3. Provision 3 of the policy mastery breakdown says that turbo generator should be overhauled after 32,000 hours of the working. Now, the insurance company insured has approved that you give me as extension of more than 32,000. Insurance company has agreed. The tariff says the insurance company can increase these things, and they may charge higher rates. They may charge apply more excess than standard excess. So if they have applied more excess, it should be mentioned here. Otherwise, whatever is standard excess, they can mention here. So up to what hours? That from 32,000 to 36,000 or 48,000 hours, whatever they have agreed, that should be mentioned, and excess should be mentioned for during the increased period. Extended period, what will be the excess and up to what period it is extended. These two things should be mentioned in the endorsement. If this endorsement is not there, then if it is beyond 32,000, you assess the loss and leave the liability admissibility to the insurance company. Then coverage for gearbox. As I told you, this gearbox is not a machine by itself. Only thing it is allowed to be insured separately as a separate item. So in that case, if you have to cover it, this is the TSC decision. It can be covered either with the drive machine or driven machine. So there is the electric motor and then the gearbox, and let's say some machine is there. So either the drive, that is electric motor, or other drive, diesel engine, whatever is there, that should be covered with that, or it should be covered with the driven machine, whatever machine is attached to that. So it cannot be covered in isolation. Then nitrogen plant. Nitrogen plant, this molecular sieve is again non-metallic thing. So it is excluded specifically. Even if it is a metallic, they are excluding it because it gets clogged and it has to be replaced over a period of time. So this is about machinery breakdown policy. In boiler policy, there is no specific TSA endorsement, but the basic requirement of boiler insurance is they should have certificate from boiler inspectorate. Now, if you go through the boiler inspector certificate, most of the time they qualify their certificate, and either they will say that it should be working at a particular rated, say 80% of rated capacity, or they will restrict the pressure or something like that. If that is the case, then policy should be endorsed, give effect of that in the policy. Suppose, so what is necessary to just not have a boiler inspector certificate, but whatever conditions are given in that qualifications are given in that certificate should also be part of the policy. So that is why this endorsement one insurer has prepared. Insured complying with the conditions stated in the boiler inspector certificate. So indemnity is available only if insured is complying this condition. This is a safeguard the insurer. So this endorsement has to be attached. Then electronic equipment policy. Now this endorsement, medical equipment, X-ray, CT scanner, lightning and over voltage, warranty concerning air conditioning. These four are given by the TSC. This endorsement wording for this four is given by the TSC. Floater basis, tariff is saying that a floater policy can be given, but they have not given the wording. Then deletion of machine maintenance warranty. They allowed deletion of maintenance warranty. This electronic equipment policy, there is a maintenance warranty. There has to be AMC with someone expert in that field to have preventive maintenance, and they have given the what should be there in the maintenance. But this is waived. There is a provision in the tariff. If here that maintenance warranty is waived, then policy also should say that this maintenance warranty is not applicable for this particular equipment. Not all equipment, few equipments, if it is waived, then that should be mentioned. Otherwise, we have to qualify that this for this machine there is no maintenance contract. So this is the wording again, non-tariff, but this is as per the provision in the tariff. And exclusion of damage caused by fire and alert period. This is again standard wording given by TSC. But however, if you go to the endorsement, this exclusion, these perils mentioned are as per the fire policy A. This provision of deletion of fire and alert perils of electronic policy came into effect when fire policy A, B, C were there. That is before year 2000. So the wordings of fire policy A, which were the wider cover compared to fire policy C. So that was, those perils are mentioned. If you go today's SFSP, there may be some difference in the perils covered or under SFSP, and this perils mentioned here. So medical equipments using X-ray tubes. So valves and tubes. If you go to electronic equipment policy also, valves and tubes are coming into the excluded components. So there is a need to, if you want to give cover up to this thing, there is need to attach an endorsement. So here shall be extended to include loss or damage to valves and tubes. Indemnification shall be limited to actual value of the such items immediately prior to the occurrence of loss or damage, including, so they say what costs are included: ordinary freight, erection cost, custom duties, again standard wording of the some insured requirement. So these are classified for different types of equipment. There are different endorsements. That is why they said 1 to 7. There are 7 endorsements, 7 things that like this. These are the conditions. So actual values of stationary anode X-ray tubes in single tank setup. So single tank setup and stationary anode, and rotating anode X-ray tubes without exposure counters. And purpose is diagnostic equipment. So it is only diagnostic purpose it is used, either in a single tank, stationary anode or rotating anode without exposure counters. So there is no exposure counter. If there is an exposure counter, there is separate wording for the those type of thing. And surface and close range radiotherapy X-ray tubes and what. So it is a surface and close range. So from the surface, close range, near small portion, not deep. And video amplifier tubes. For these three, this is the scale of depreciation. As there is no exposure counter, then it is a month wise. So first 1.5 year, 100%. Then it goes on reducing. After 60 months, it is 0. So 5 years, 60 months is 5 years. So this is the scale. Then medical equipment using X-ray tubes. Actual values of valves for diagnostic equipment. So for diagnostic equipment here up to 33 months, that is almost 3 years. Less than 3 months, less than 3 years, it is 100%. Then it goes on reducing up to 60 months, it's 0. So this is basically diagnostic equipment, not a therapy equipment. It's only diagnostic. Then medical equipment using X-ray tubes. This is rotating anode type X-ray tubes with lead sealed exposure counters. So there is the exposure counter. Those other equipment, there was no exposure counter. So here exposure based on 10,000 exposures, up to 10,000 it is full. More than 40,000 exposure, it is 0. Now all these endorsements, they are introduced more than 20, 25 to 30 years back. The technology has improved. If you go to exposure counters in a very big hospital, in maybe within 3 months or 4 months, they will have this exposure more than 40,000. So they may say that why we should take this insurance every 3-4 months we have to change the X-ray tube, and they may not be changing, but this is the exposure counter will show that the exposure is more than 40,000, maybe 6 months only. And medical equipment using X-ray tubes, deep therapy equipment, deep therapy X-ray tubes and valves. So here period of operation either in hours or age. 2 criteria are given. So anyone, whichever results in lower actual value. So whatever, if it is 300 hours only, and this is already cross 18, so then you will take 18 months. So based on dual criteria, but again, is 13,000 hours, 1300 hours, more than 1300 hours or 60 months, more than 60 months, it is again 0. So all these equipment, maximum depreciation is 100%. Then here, medical equipment using X-ray tubes. This X-ray tubes and valves for material testing equipment. So you have usage of this X-ray tubes for material testing also. For material testing, again, it is a dual criteria, either number of hours or months. So again, here, more than 860 and more than 20. This is 20 months. That is 1.5 year only, roughly. So it is 80% depreciation maximum. Then actual values of picture and pickup tubes for TB equipments. For TB equipments, after 12 months use, the actual value of picture tube and pickup tube shall be reduced by 3% per month. Up to 1 year, no issue. The full value may be payable. But after that, every month 3% per year. So that means minimum, and again minimum 20%. So that means after 12 months, 7 months if you add, that is 19 months. It will up to 19 months 20%, 12 months to 19. After that, again 3% per year. So that means if you say 33 months it is there, after 33 months that will be 100% depreciation. Actual values of other types of tubes and valves. For other types of tubes and valves, actual value on the date of occurrence shall be determined on the basis of data furnished by supplier. So for any other type of tubes and valves, you have to go to the supplier manufacturer for the data, and based on that, depreciation should be applicable. And CT scanner. So here again, so insurer shall not be liable for any damage consisting in the failure of individual construction element or components, unless it can be proved that such damage has been caused by an external event acting on the system or by a fire generated within the system. So it has to be external event or fire generated within the system. So internal breakdowns or such thing not covered. So it has to be due to any external event acting on the system or by fire, internal fire and external event causing the damages. In contrast to the indemnity scales of endorsement on cover for valves and tubes incorporated in the medical equipment, the following scale shall be applicable. So here also X-ray tube is involved. Those scales will not be applicable. Basically, CT scanner is a diagnostic equipment, but that scale will not be applicable, but the following scale will be applicable. X-ray tubes with high voltage time meter, stationary anode type tubes, operating hours up to. This is the operating hour. And if there is exposure counter, exposure counter. If there is no exposure counter, then this is the number of hours working. Then indemnity again of 1200 and 30,000 is 10%. So 90% depreciation. So here 90% depreciation. Now if you go to, so again hospitals where heavy workload is there, this may be hours may not go, but this exposure counter thing, 30,000 exposure they will exhaust in very short duration. So again that problem will come. Then tubes for voltage stabilization and regulation. So voltage stabilization and regulation, those tubes, period of use is 36 months, up to 36 month full value. Then it goes on 60 months, 10% only, that is 90% depreciation. Then this is another warranty. I do not know whether you have checked this thing when you go for electronic equipment claims. A lightning arrestor, I have doubt whether all the buildings will be having this lightning arrestor. Or voltage protection, yes, there may be UPS, there may be some other protection. But lightning arrestor, because whenever I have gone for pre-acceptance inspection of biomedical equipment, I ask them whether because it is a small clinic is there in one big commercial complex. that those people do not know whether that building is having lightning arrestor or not. So this condition says that there should be both these should be there, lightning arrestor and over voltage protection device. Over voltage protection device is there because manufacturer insists on certain thing, UPS or certain capacity UPS or any other voltage protection thing. But lightning arrestor, doubtful. They are also not aware. So what this endorsement says, it should be available both. Damage to electronic equipment or data media or increased cost of working. So these are the three sections of the policy. None of the indemnity will be available result of lightning or over voltage. So the loss is because of lightning or over voltage. If the electronic equipment is fitted with lightning or over voltage protection devices and alarm system, these have been installed and maintained in the accordance with the recommendations of the manufacturers of electronic. So that should be provided, then only loss is admissible. Lightning and over voltage protection devices, again their maintenance and district conditions are mentioned. So what should be the maintenance and they are regularly serviced by qualified personnel of the manufacturer or supplier. If AMC is there, we have to see whether this over voltage protection system is done like this thing. They also include this UPS and or over voltage protection. Lightning arrestor, it may not be there in their custody, even if that building is having. So society, commercial building, whatever is the ownership thing, whether they are doing lightning arrestor, we do not know. And they are kept under supervision by trained personnel. Are provided with an automatic switch off device complying with the latest requirement for the electronic equipment and the manufacturer's recommendation. So these three should be there in the voltage protection. At least we can check which is within the insured premises or over voltage protection device. Lightning arrestor, again that is the problem. Then warranty concerning air conditioning plant. So most of the this warranty came because initially most of the electronic equipment they were required to work in the controlled atmosphere. So air conditioning plant was very much necessary. Today you may find some electronic equipment not working in air conditioner, but even today biomedical equipments they require air conditioning plant for the working. So that warranty is for those things. So here again this all three sections. Electronic equipment, section 1, data media, section 2, and increased cost of working, section 3 of the electronic policy. If there is a loss due to failure of air conditioning plant, and if air conditioning plant is not covered against the material damage and has been equipped, installed, or maintained in accordance with the recommendations of the manufacturers of the electronic equipment. So air conditioning plant also need to be covered for material damage. And it should be maintained. Again, maintenance, same norms like lightning arrestor and over voltage, same norms are there. That has to be maintained as per those things. So AMC for air conditioning plant, whether they are having or not, that is another issue. And floater basis policy. Electronic equipment also there is a provision to cover on floater basis. There is a confusion between insurers also. They give floater basis pan India. This is the only wording. But when this floater basis policy was introduced, it was for named locations only. It is on the similar lines of fire policy. So it can be given for named location only. And here, in addition to that named location, list of machines is also required to be given. So when the policy was taken, that location-wise list should be there in the policy. Those equipment can change the locations, but any additional equipment is to be covered, then they have to include in the policy. Any new location has to be introduced, they have to include the location by endorsement. It cannot be a unnamed location based policy. But that is the biggest confusion for this electronic policy and CPM policy amongst the insurance companies also, and because of that surveyors also. The basic intention, if you read this wording, it will be specifically saying that the here. Endorsed thereon. Sum insured in aggregate is available for any one, more, or all locations as specified. It further agreed and understood that the above applicable only in respect of items covered. Items covered at these locations for respective sum insured for those items. So item wise list of item with sum insured for that item is to be there in the policy and specified in the policy schedule at the beginning of the policy or endorse thereon there too from time to time. So locations, endorse or equipment can be changed, but that has to be endorsed. It is further agreed and understood that all times during the currency of policy, the insured should have a good internal audit and accounting procedure to know that how the equipments are being shifted and all these things, and total sum insured and all these things. And the locations can be established at any particular time. So basically, it is a name location thing and specific items only. Even the tariff provides that way. Because tariff you have to read in totality, not for the only one provision. Tariff is clearly saying that a policy should have location wise list. CPM policy, that is the basic thing. But CPM policy, multiple location policies were earlier also given without floater. So location wise list specifically mentioned the CPM policy. In electronic policy also same thing is applicable. Then deletion of maintenance warranty. As I told you that deletion possible. So then this endorsement should be saying that the for item number so and so of the policy, the maintenance warranty is deleted. Then exclusion of damage caused by fire and allied perils. If you see these perils, they are as per the fire policy earlier. Most of the perils are same, but this terrorism. When this was introduced, terrorism was part of the standard policy. Afterwards, it is a add-on cover now. Still, it is mentioning here like that. Fine, okay. Electronic policy, otherwise also your terrorism excluded, but again repeated here. Let's say CPM endorsement. CPM, you have these three endorsements. Insurance of all types of claims, floater basis policy, deletion of exception K. All types of claims. It is understood and agreed that the insurance by this policy shall include sudden and unforeseen damage to ropes, slings, resulting in their actual and complete severance. So here also, standard exclusion is there for ropes and sling, but here you can give this thing only when it is a complete severance is there. That is, it is a completely broken. Only few wires are cut from the sling or ropes, and that is not covered. It shall not include breakage or abrasion of wires or strands or ropes along. Although replacement is necessary, few wires are broken, the insured may have to change the ropes or sling. But insurance company will pay only when that is complete severance of the rope is there. In floater basis policy, same as electronic. Already I have explained you what is the meaning. Just name locations only and list has to be there. Now this exclusion K is regarding machinery working underground. Now if I am giving cover for some machinery which is already giving working underground, then this exclusion has to be deleted for item number so and so. There may be 4 or 5 items, so those serial number from the schedule should be mentioned. So thank you. So any queries?
Yes, sir. There is a one raised hand by Mr. Pradeep Adhikari. Pradeep ji, are you there?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, Pradeep ji, you can self-mute yourself and ask the question. Mr. Pradeep? Yes, Mr. Balaji? Balaramanathan? You have to unmute yourself and then ask the question. Yes, Mr. Bhagwat Kamat ji? They have raised hand, but hello. Mr. Amol Daure ji? You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Please, sir.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Kamat.
Yeah, sir. Good evening, Mr. Harsulkar, sir. Hello. Sir,
Good evening.
in the MBD tariff, there is what is called obligation of insured. In under obligation of insured, it says the insured shall take all reasonable steps to maintain the insured property efficiently and working order, and there should be proper operation and maintenance. Suppose if we go to do a particular claim and we find that there is no maintenance, nothing, what is its effect on the assessment, sir?
No, whether that has caused the loss, then only it will be affecting the liability. That has not caused the loss, whether it will be possible to prove that. See, anything comes to
Yeah, it is.
liability, then if suppose you are saying that they have not maintained and that has caused the loss, can you prove conclusively?
No, I'm not saying that it has caused the loss, but the fact of the matter is there is absolutely no maintenance only.
Yeah, but you can make a remark. There is no
Okay.
record maintained. No, they are not maintaining the machine proper thing. So that is
Okay, sir. Yeah.
what happens is, suppose I have to say that there is no liability because of this reason, I have to prove that thing. Whether if you are able to prove it.
Yeah, okay. And sir, one more thing. In case of this, hello,
Yes.
hello.
Yeah,
In case of this wire ropes, no. In case of this wire ropes, there is a condition that wire ropes should completely snap off. Suppose if there are, let us assume 6 strands, and out of these 5 strands are completely snapped, and the rope is just holding on one strand. Can it be considered as complete severance?
No. That is what is specific, complete severance.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Yes, Mr. Balaji? Okay, now he's on offline. Yes, Mr. Amol Daure ji? You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
हेलो
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes,
हाँ
sir.
सर, एक विंडमिल पैकेज पॉलिसी में हेलो हाँ
Yes,
विंडमिल
yes.
पैकेज पॉलिसी हाँ विंडमिल पैकेज पॉलिसी में विंडमिल इंश्योर्ड किया है पूरा, उसका जो कंट्रोल पैनल है, इन्वर्टर्स है, यूपीएस, बैटरी वगैरह, और स्टॉर्म की वजह से उसका ब्लेड और बाकी का स्ट्रक्चर डैमेज हुआ है, और अंदर का इन्वर्टर और बाकी कंट्रोल पैनल में भी डैमेज है। तो अंदर का जो कंट्रोल पैनल है और इन्वर्टर, उसके जो कार्ड्स खराब हुए हैं, वो पेएबल है क्या इसमें?
If it is a package policy, then SFSP perils are covered. But basically, windmill is supposed to work under what design thing is working on the
उसमें
wind
सर
only. How windmill can get damaged because of this?
पैकेज पॉलिसी में सर SFSP कवर उन्होंने अलग से लिया हुआ है और मशीनरी ब्रेकडाउन का भी कवर अलग से लिया हुआ है.
So package policy, that is why they have taken. My question is, wind speeds hai, whether windmill can get damaged.
हाँ.
That is designed for working under heavy winds.
हाँ.
Whether it can get damaged. अगर इतना heavy wind speed है, तो only one windmill, it is a wind farm mostly. It is not a single windmill. So why only one windmill is getting damaged?
वो लोकेशन में 2 windmills.
Damage should have been to other windmills also.
हाँ, दो windmills था, दोनों में डैमेज.
But that is insured. There will be so many other windmills. Why they are not damaged? Only this windmill is damaged. These two
Both
windmills.
windmills are damaged.
No, but there will be other windmills also, na? Other insured, other companies. Because normally whenever windmills are there, they are not in isolation. You will find in that area very
number of windmills.
large number of windmills. So whether first thing is whether it is damaged because of storm. If it is damaged because of storm, then SFSP policy is covering it. Question is, my question is whether it is damaged because of storm only or anything else.
It is confirmed that they are damaged due to storm only. This is during the Nisarg cyclone.
Oh, agreed, but then SFSP policy, package policy covers fire SFSP perils. So storm is one of the insured peril.
And because of that, the damage to inverter cars, whether they will be payable.
Inverter car, what happened to inverter car?
Inverter?
That is what I am asking you. That is what I am asking you. How the storm can damage these parts? That is what my question is. You are saying storm is there. How storm can damage it?
No, storm cannot damage the internal parts that are placed inside the yard.
That is what I am asking you. How storm can damage these parts? Storm can, okay, one blade may be broken or tower may collapse if it is wind speed is so high. That is what I am saying. Windmill is supposed to withstand very high wind speeds. So how it can get damaged? That is my question. That there has to be some other reason. And if that wind pressure is there, that wind mill, it will rotate very high speed. It will rotate. So question is, and they can very well change the direction of the windmill and stop the windmill. But question is, those parts what you are saying, whether how they can get damaged in the storm. There has to be some other reason. Right? If it is found damaged, yes, there has to be some other reason. But how it can get damaged? Because storm damage in SFSP, direct damages only will be payable. So direct damage by storm, those parts not possible. Indirect damage, just check out whether it can be possible. That is because machinery breakdown is also covered. Whether it is indirect damage is there possible those parts, and it has to be proved technically. You have to justify. Insurance company will ask you. You justify how it can get damaged because of indirect damage. Machinery package policy, machinery breakdown is also covered. So if it has to come under machinery breakdown section, then explain the sequence. Storm is there. How it has affected these parts. Indirect chain of events. Indirect damages.
I think he is self-muted again. Yes, Mr. Balaranathan. You have to. Yes. Now can we hear you? We can hear you. Please ask your question, sir. Yes, Mr. Balaji, please. You are unmuted. We can hear you. Please speak. No, we can't hear him. He has unmuted himself, but he is not speaking. Anyway, Sachin sir, are you there? Hello.
Hello. Any more question?
No, sir, there is no question right now. So I think we lost the connection with Mr. Sachin sir also. So now we should end this program right now. Friends, thank you very much for attending the program. Thank you very much, Milind sir, for your precious time as always. And see you soon. Thank you, everyone. Good night.